quarters in diameter, 2.5 inches long, just because that's what I got out of the piece I started with. I got 4 blanks out of it, and it was 12 inches long. By the time I cut tenons, mounting tenons, I wound up with 2.5 inches. So I'm going to do the initial shaping of the ornament globe using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Now I have the side wings ground well back on my spindle gouges so that I can use the wing to take a shearing cut, almost like a skew, just for for truing that up. I've just mounted it, so it's probably not going to be running 100%. And that feels fine now. So I'll start shaping. The globe can be pretty much any shape you like. Doesn't have to be a sphere. I prefer sort of a flattish top and an oval bottom. Sort of like that, I guess. They're never too exactly the same anyway. I have a few ripples, so I'm just going to shear scrape with the wing of the gouge here to fair the surface. Okay, and now I'll put a dimple in the middle to help the drill bit get started on center. I'm using a 3/8 twist drill. And now I'll hollow it out. Now the only reason for hollowing it really is to reduce the weight of it. Now that was a 3/8 twist drill that I used for the hole, and I went all the way through. You don't have to, as long as you're all the way through the ornament. You can hollow through a 3/8 hole. If you've got something like this is a tool I made myself. It's made from 3/16 key stock. Key stock is not very good steel for making cutting tools, but it's cheap and it's available. I bought that at an automotive parts store. Comes in 12-inch lengths. It's the stuff they use to make the key that goes between a pulley and the motor shaft. It works. You're going to be sharpening it quite often, but it will do the job. do that, by the way. I don't know if that was on camera or not, but when I have a real nasty habit, when I pull it out and it's covered with shavings, I bang it on top of the tool rest to clear the shavings off, and that dings up your tool rest, and then you got to file the tool rest smooth again. It's better to bang it someplace else if you need to bang it on something. Anyway, I don't use this tool very much anymore. I made it specifically for doing Christmas ornaments, but I have since bought a tool that does works much faster. It does a better job. This is called a Kelton undercutter. This is just one configuration. They come in different shapes. The blade, it fits into a Kelton tool handle. The blade itself is some sort of mild steel. It has a thin piece of a different kind of steel brazed onto the end, and that, whatever that is, it sure takes an edge really well and holds it for a long time too. So that's what I use mostly now. Thing is, it won't go through a 3/8 inch hole, so I have to open this hole up a bit in order to use that. So I'll just use a 3/8 spindle gouge. And I'm looking for a hole about 9/16 to 5/8 in diameter. And that's in between 9/16 and 5/8, so that's fine. As long as it's big enough for me to fit this tool through, that's what I want. So now I'll finish the hollowing with this tool. So I'll check the depth, and I want to go deeper than that, and I'll check the sidewall thickness, and I want to go a bit thinner than that as well. This tool is called a thickness caliper. It has the adjuster nut in between the legs, so you can open the legs up without changing the setting. So I put that in with this leg against the inside wall. I adjust the nut until this outside leg just touches the side, and then I can pull it out and see what the gap is. Very handy for this sort of thing. So I want to go deeper, and I want it thinner on the side walls. So that's deep enough now. Not bad. It could be a little thinner there, but that's the sort of thickness I'm looking for. It's a little thick in the bottom curve here. I'm going to take a little more out there, I think. If I didn't, I banged that against the side of the lathe bed when I was putting it down, so I may have taken the edge off of it. So that's better on the wall thickness. I'll leave it at that. And just sand the outside now and put finish on. Okay, so when you're hollowing through a hole, it's very likely that you're going to bang against the sides of the opening and ding it up a little bit. Plus, because that hole is so wide, when I'm putting the finish on, it's very likely that I'll push a little finish in onto that surface, and I want that surface to be a glue surface eventually, so I'm just going to take a light scrape with the side wing of a spindle gouge to expose fresh wood on the sides of that hole. Okay, so now I'll cut it off using a skew chisel. Okay, now in order to get this surface, do the final shaping and then sand and finish it, I'll turn a stub here that I can jam this hole over. Now I'll hold that against there and spin it a few times, and that'll leave a shiny mark of burnished wood at the diameter of that hole, so it gives me something to shoot for. Okay, so the side walls of this hole are only like 1/8 of an inch long, and this is a curved surface. So if I just put that on and butt it up against a square shoulder, it's not going to have much resistance to side pressure. So I'm going to undercut this face. Using a spindle gouge. Okay, so what that will do, when I fit this on there, it'll be making contact out here, away from the hole, and that will give it a much broader support to resist side pressure. Now this is still just a little bit too big. I'm going to use my skew chisel as a negative rake scraper to remove small amounts from the sides of that stub. And sneak up on the fit. Now I want this to be tight enough that I can do some turning out here. But if I make it too tight, I'm probably going to split the ornament. Figuring out how tight you can make it without splitting the ornament is something you can really only learn by experience. And even then, well, learning by experience means you're going to split some along the way. And even when you think you have learned it, you're still going to split the odd one, probably. I know I still do. Okay, so now I'm seated against the outside rim of that undercut area, so I've got a pretty good support to resist side pressure when as I trim the end here. Just using a 3/8 spindle gouge again. So I'll sand and finish that area. Okay, so that's just coasting down. The lathe is switched off. I'm just going to push this bit in to ream the hole, in case I got any finish onto the sides of it. And that should be good. So there's ornament globe done. Now that's a good snug fit in that hole. So what I'm going to do is just put that in the hole and drip some thin CA glue on the inside. And that will wick into the joint. And for the hanger piece, put glue around the sides of the hole. That when I push this in, the excess glue will go to the inside rather than squishing out around the flange here. And I hold it upside down for a few seconds so any of that excess glue will flow back around the tenon and help to lock it in place. And there's the finished ornament.
Thank you for watching.